Have you ever noticed how a woman can be standing right beside you, smiling, talking, laughing, and yet somehow she still feels miles away? Now let me ask you something even more uncomfortable. What if the moment she finally begins to feel emotionally safe with you, she doesn't become louder, more dramatic, or more obvious? What if she actually becomes quieter? If you've ever wondered whether a woman is slowly giving you her heart without saying the words, stay with me. And if these conversations help you see what most people overlook, quietly subscribe. Not because I need another number, but because sometimes the right insight arrives exactly when a man is ready to hear it. I've spent years listening to women explain feelings they could never explain to the men they loved. They would sit across from me, twisting a ring around their finger, staring at the floor, saying things like, "I don't even know when it happened. I wasn't trying to fall for him. I just started feeling like he was home." Those words stayed with me. Because love rarely announces itself, it changes behavior first. And most men completely miss it. They keep looking for fireworks while she's silently changing the way she moves around them. Here's where men often become confused. They think attraction is loud. They think if she's interested, she'll constantly text first, compliment him, chase him, make everything obvious. Sometimes she will. But emotional attachment, real emotional attachment, usually grows in places where words become unnecessary. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're sitting together after dinner. Nothing extraordinary has happened. Nobody is flirting. Nobody is trying to impress the other. She's simply sitting there. She looks at you for a second longer than usual. Not because you're performing, not because you're entertaining, just because being near you has become strangely calming. She doesn't even realize she's looking. Then she catches herself, smiles awkwardly, looks away. Most men ignore moments like that, but psychologists pay attention, because comfort is one of the earliest signs of emotional investment. Human beings naturally relax around people their nervous system trusts. We breathe differently. Our shoulders soften. We stop rehearsing every sentence before we speak. Without realizing it, she begins showing you parts of herself that very few people ever see. Not the polished version, not the charming version she brings into crowded rooms. The tired version, the uncertain version, the woman who laughs at jokes that make absolutely no sense. The woman who admits she's scared sometimes. The woman who says, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." That sentence, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." Listen carefully. Women say that far more often when they feel emotionally connected than when they're simply attracted. Because attraction makes people want to look impressive. Emotional safety makes people forget they were trying to. There's another moment that fascinates me. It happens almost invisibly. She starts remembering tiny things, not your job title, not your birthday. Those are easy. I'm talking about the little details even you forgot mentioning. Your favorite snack from childhood, the song you skipped because it reminded you of someone, the way your voice changes when you're exhausted, the fact that you always rub your neck when you're stressed. She notices, not because she's collecting information, because emotionally attached people naturally pay attention. The human brain gives priority to what the heart quietly begins to value. Here's the mistake many men make. They assume emotional closeness begins with grand romantic gestures, flowers, confessions, late-night speeches. Those things can be beautiful, but they're rarely where attachment begins. It begins inside ordinary moments. Moments so ordinary that they almost seem forgettable. A conversation in the car, walking through a grocery store, waiting together in silence, sharing something completely unremarkable, yet somehow leaving with the feeling that neither of you wanted the moment to end. That's when something changes inside her. Not because she decided to love you, but because somewhere beneath conscious thought, her emotional world started making space for you. And once that space exists, her behavior begins telling a story her words may not be ready to tell yet. One of the biggest misunderstandings men have about emotional connection is believing that a woman becomes attached when she needs your attention. In reality, it's often the opposite. She becomes attached when your presence starts feeling normal. That sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But think about your own life. The people who matter most to you probably aren't the ones who create constant excitement. They're the ones whose absence quietly changes the atmosphere. Women experience that too. At first, seeing you is something she hopes will happen. Later, it's something her day naturally expects. She doesn't even notice the shift until one afternoon she reaches for her phone after something funny happens. And your name is the first one that comes to mind. Not because she planned it, because somewhere along the way, you've become part of how she experiences life. That change is rarely dramatic, it's subtle, and subtle things are easy to dismiss. I remember a woman once telling me about the moment she realized her feelings had become deeper than attraction. She didn't describe a romantic vacation. She didn't describe a passionate kiss. She smiled, almost embarrassed, and said, "I was buying groceries and I caught myself wondering whether he'd like this brand of coffee." Then she laughed. It scared me because I wasn't trying to think about him. That sentence has stayed with me, because emotional attachment quietly enters ordinary routines before it ever enters dramatic conversations. A woman who's becoming emotionally invested begins including you in thoughts you never asked to be part of. She sees a movie trailer and wonders if you'd enjoy it. She passes a restaurant and remembers something you once mentioned. She hears someone tell a joke and instinctively imagines your reaction. These moments seem insignificant. They're anything but. Psychologically, our minds naturally connect everyday experiences to people we've started weaving into our emotional lives. It's not forced, it's automatic. There's another behavior that's even easier to overlook. She starts letting you witness her imperfect moments, not the carefully chosen ones, the real ones. Maybe she's irritated after a difficult day. Maybe she admits she handled something badly. Maybe she sits beside you without trying to look energetic because she's simply exhausted. Early attraction often encourages people to hide those moments. Emotional security does something very different. It whispers, "I don't have to perform every second." That doesn't mean she'll stop caring about your opinion. It means she'll slowly stop believing she has to earn your affection by pretending everything is fine. That's an enormous psychological shift. Because trust isn't built when someone shows you perfection. Trust is built when someone risks showing you reality. And here's where many relationships quietly go wrong. The man mistakes her vulnerability for losing attraction. He thinks, she doesn't dress up as much anymore. She seems more relaxed. Maybe the excitement is fading. Sometimes that's true, but many times, it's something much deeper. She's replacing performance with authenticity. She no longer feels like she's walking into an interview every time she sees you. She feels like she's coming home. Home isn't where you constantly impress people. Home is where you finally exhale. That's why emotionally connected women often become surprisingly comfortable with silence. Think about that. Silence. Most people fear it. Awkward pauses make strangers uncomfortable because strangers believe every empty second needs to be filled. Emotionally attached people don't. You've probably seen elderly couples sitting together in a park. No conversation, no entertainment, no urgency, just presence. The silence itself becomes communication. That same process begins much earlier than most people realize. When a woman starts feeling emotionally safe with you, she doesn't panic every time there's nothing to say. She isn't mentally searching for the perfect sentence. She isn't wondering whether she's being interesting enough. She simply enjoys existing beside you. And that may sound small, but psychologically, it's one of the strongest indicators that someone has stopped viewing you as an opportunity and started viewing you as part of their emotional landscape. She no longer measures every interaction by how exciting it was. Instead, she notices something far more meaningful, how peaceful it felt. Because the truth is, butterflies are exciting. Peace is unforgettable. The woman who is quietly giving you her heart isn't always searching for bigger moments. Sometimes she's discovering that the ordinary moments feel bigger simply because you're there. And that realization changes something inside her that words often struggle to explain. The question is, what happens when those quiet feelings become strong enough that she starts protecting not just her emotions, but the connection itself? This is the moment almost every man misunderstands. He thinks that if a woman truly cares about him, she'll become more possessive, more demanding, more emotional every single day. Sometimes that happens. But more often, emotional attachment shows itself in a quieter, far more revealing way. She begins protecting what the two of you have, not because she's afraid of losing control, because she's afraid of losing something that has become emotionally meaningful. There's a difference. Imagine you've had a difficult week. You're distracted. Your replies are shorter than usual. Maybe you cancel plans because work has overwhelmed you. A woman who is only casually interested might simply move on with her day. But a woman who has slowly woven you into her emotional world often pauses before reacting. Instead of immediately assuming the worst, she wonders, is he okay? That question matters, because emotionally invested people naturally become curious before they become defensive. She's no longer only protecting herself, she's protecting the possibility that your silence has a reason she doesn't yet understand. Of course, she's human. She may still feel disappointed. She may still worry. But beneath those emotions is something different: empathy. And empathy changes the way people interpret each other's behavior. I've heard countless women describe this shift without realizing how significant it was. One woman told me, "I stopped counting who texted first." Another smiled and admitted, "I realized I cared more about how his day went than whether he remembered to compliment me." Neither woman was describing obsession, they were describing emotional maturity. Because when feelings deepen, the relationship slowly stops becoming a scoreboard. It becomes a shared emotional space. You begin thinking less about winning, more about understanding. Now here's something fascinating. A woman who feels emotionally secure around you often starts inviting you into parts of her future. Not with dramatic declarations, but through tiny assumptions. She might say, "You'd love this place," or "We should try that someday." Notice those words, not I, we. It's such a small change that most men never notice it. Yet psychologically, language reveals what the conscious mind hasn't fully admitted. Without realizing it, she's beginning to imagine experiences that include you. She's mentally placing you into chapters that haven't happened yet. That doesn't mean she's planning your entire future together. It simply means your presence no longer belongs only to today. And that's a profound emotional shift. There's another behavior I find incredibly revealing. She begins caring about your emotional state almost as much as her own. If you're unusually quiet, she notices. If your smile feels forced, she notices. If something seems different about your voice, she notices. Not because she's trying to analyze you, because emotionally attached people become emotionally attuned. It's almost like the nervous system starts recognizing another person's emotional rhythms. Think about the people you've loved most. Didn't you eventually learn the difference between their genuine laugh and the one they used when they were pretending everything was fine? You probably did. She does the same. She notices things other people walk right past. The slight hesitation before you answer. The tiredness hiding behind your confidence. The smile that reaches your mouth, but not your eyes. And here's where many men accidentally push that closeness away. When she gently asks, "Is everything okay?" they answer with an automatic, "I'm fine." Not because they're lying, because they've spent years believing strength means carrying everything alone. But emotional intimacy grows in the opposite direction. It grows when two people slowly realize they don't have to hide every difficult feeling from each other. That doesn't mean unloading every problem onto someone. It means allowing someone you trust to see that you're human. Ironically, many women don't fall deeper for a man because he appears invincible. They feel closer when they realize his strength isn't built on pretending he never struggles. It's built on facing life honestly. That's what creates emotional safety, not perfection, honesty. Because emotional attachment isn't asking, "Can this person impress me forever?" It's quietly asking, "Can I be myself here? And will he still choose to stay?" When a woman begins asking that question deep inside herself, something changes. She starts listening less to the excitement of the relationship and more to the feeling she has after every conversation. Does she leave feeling lighter? Does she feel understood? Does she feel accepted, even on the days when she isn't her best? Those answers matter more than grand romantic gestures ever could. Because long before a woman says, "I love you," she often discovers something even more important. She realizes she feels emotionally safer with you than she does with most of the world. And once that feeling takes root, it begins changing the way she loves in ways that even she may not fully recognize yet. There's a quiet transformation that happens after emotional safety has settled into a woman's heart. You won't find it in dramatic love stories. You won't notice it in grand romantic gestures. You'll notice it in the moments when life becomes difficult. Because attraction enjoys the easy days. Emotional attachment reveals itself on the hard ones. Imagine she has a terrible afternoon. Work didn't go well. A conversation with her family left her emotionally drained. By the time evening arrives, she feels like she has nothing left to give. Early in a relationship, many people disappear during moments like these. Not because they don't care, because they don't yet know whether it's safe to be emotionally messy around someone. But when a woman has quietly given you a place in her emotional world, something changes. She doesn't always come to you looking for solutions. Sometimes, she simply wants your presence. That distinction is incredibly important. Many men immediately begin fixing, offering advice, creating plans, searching for answers. Sometimes that's helpful, but often what she remembers isn't the advice. It's how she felt sitting beside you while saying things she couldn't say anywhere else. Years from now, she probably won't remember every sentence you spoke. She'll remember whether she felt judged or understood. There's an old misconception that women fall in love because someone says exactly the right words. In reality, the deepest emotional bonds usually grow because someone creates the right emotional atmosphere. An atmosphere where silence isn't uncomfortable, where mistakes aren't immediately criticized, where emotions don't have to be hidden. That kind of space is surprisingly rare, and when people find it, they rarely forget it. I once spoke with a woman who had ended a relationship that looked perfect from the outside. The man was successful, confident, generous. Everyone thought she had found everything she wanted. But she quietly said something I'll never forget. "I never felt like I could have a bad day around him." Think about that. Not because he was cruel, not because he was unkind, because she constantly felt she had to stay cheerful, interesting, emotionally polished. She was exhausted. Months later, she met someone very different. One evening, she burst into tears over something that wasn't even about him. She apologized again and again. He didn't interrupt, he didn't rush her. When she finally looked up, embarrassed, he simply smiled and said, "You don't have to apologize for being human." She told me, that was the moment everything changed. Notice what happened there. He didn't rescue her, he didn't solve her problems. He removed the fear that she had to earn acceptance. That's emotionally powerful. And here's something most men don't realize. When a woman starts feeling emotionally secure, she begins celebrating your victories almost as if they were her own. Not out of obligation, out of genuine joy. Your success doesn't threaten her, it makes her smile. She notices when you're excited about a project. She remembers the interview you were nervous about. She asks how that difficult conversation went because she actually wants to know. She's emotionally invested in your experiences because, little by little, your life has become emotionally connected to hers. That's very different from dependence. Healthy attachment isn't losing yourself inside another person. It's expanding your emotional world enough to genuinely care about theirs. And that kind of care often appears in the smallest gestures. She notices you're unusually tired and quietly asks if you've eaten. She remembers that stressful meeting and checks in later that evening. She sends you something funny because she knows you've had a difficult day. None of these actions scream, "I'm in love," but together, they tell a story. A story of someone who has begun carrying a small part of your emotional well-being in her own heart. Now here's the part that many men accidentally overlook. As her emotional connection grows, she also begins watching something very carefully. Not your income, not your appearance, not how impressive you seem in front of strangers. She watches what happens when life doesn't go your way. How do you handle disappointment? Do you become cold? Do you punish everyone around you for having a difficult day? Can you admit when you're wrong without seeing it as weakness? Can you disagree without making the other person feel unsafe? Women often learn more about a man's emotional character during one difficult conversation than during 20 perfect dates. Because conflict strips away performance. It reveals habits. It reveals emotional maturity. It reveals whether kindness disappears the moment life becomes uncomfortable. And here's the beautiful paradox. A woman who feels emotionally attached isn't looking for a flawless man. She's quietly hoping that the man she trusts will remain emotionally steady even when life becomes imperfect. Because deep inside, she's asking herself a question she may never say out loud. If one day life becomes difficult for both of us, will this still feel like the safest place I know? And if her heart begins answering yes, that's when her feelings become far deeper than simple attraction. Then something changes that even she may not notice at first. She stops wondering whether you like her and starts wondering whether you're taking care of yourself. That shift is incredibly revealing. Her attention slowly moves away from seeking reassurance and toward offering genuine care. She notices when you're unusually quiet. She remembers the conversation where you mentioned feeling overwhelmed. Days later, she asks about it, not because she's checking a box, but because your inner world has become important to her. This doesn't mean she never needs reassurance herself. Healthy relationships are never one-sided. But when a woman is emotionally invested, care begins to flow naturally in both directions. You'll also notice something else. She becomes more honest, not harsher, not more critical, just more real. If something hurts her, she's more likely to tell you instead of quietly disappearing. That honesty isn't a sign she's trying to create conflict. Often, it's a sign she believes the connection is worth protecting. People rarely fight for relationships they don't value. They speak up because losing the relationship would matter. And perhaps the quietest sign of all, she begins relaxing into her authentic self. Her laughter becomes less guarded, her conversations become deeper. She no longer feels she has to impress you every moment you're together. She trusts that simply being herself is enough. That's the heart of emotional closeness, not constant excitement, not endless romance. Just two people gradually discovering that they can be fully seen without pretending to be someone else. When that happens, love doesn't arrive with noise. It settles in quietly, almost unnoticed. And by the time either of you finds the right words for it, the bond has already become part of who you both are. Here's the truth that surprises many men. A woman doesn't stay emotionally connected because every day feels exciting. No relationship can sustain that. She stays because somewhere along the journey, you became the person she feels most like herself around. That's a feeling people search for far more often than they search for perfection. Think about the people you've trusted most in your own life. They probably weren't the ones who always knew the right thing to say. They were the ones who made you feel that your worst moments wouldn't scare them away. Women long for that same emotional stability, not someone who never makes mistakes, someone whose character remains recognizable when life becomes stressful. And that's where emotional attachment quietly deepens. She begins believing your actions more than your words. If you say you'll call, you usually do. If you promise to be there, she learns she doesn't have to wonder whether you'll disappear. Trust isn't built in one unforgettable moment. It's built through dozens of ordinary moments where your behavior stays consistent. Consistency may not feel romantic, but emotionally it's incredibly attractive. Because consistency creates safety, and safety allows love to grow without fear. There's another subtle change you'll notice. She starts sharing dreams she rarely talks about. Maybe it's a place she's always wanted to visit, a business she's secretly imagined starting, a childhood memory she's never told many people. Those conversations aren't random, they're invitations. Not invitations into her schedule, but into her inner world. That's one of the greatest privileges another human being can receive. When someone trusts you with the parts of themselves they normally protect, they're quietly saying, "I believe you'll handle this part of me with care." Never underestimate that gift. Because emotional intimacy isn't measured by how many hours you spend together, it's measured by how deeply you're willing to know each other. And perhaps that's the clearest sign of all. When she's emotionally yours, she doesn't stop being an independent woman with her own dreams, friendships, and identity. Instead, she chooses to let you become a meaningful part of her emotional life. Not because she has to, but because being with you feels like a place where she can be completely herself. That's not the beginning of possession, it's the beginning of genuine partnership, where affection grows from mutual trust, emotional safety, and the quiet confidence that neither person has to pretend in order to be loved. So if you're waiting for one dramatic sign, one perfect sentence, one unforgettable moment that proves she's emotionally yours, you may be looking in the wrong direction. Because the deepest feelings rarely arrive with applause, they arrive quietly. In the way she remembers what matters to you, in the way she feels comfortable sharing both her joy and her uncertainty, in the way your presence begins to feel less like an exciting escape and more like a peaceful place to return to. That's what emotional closeness looks like. It's built through ordinary conversations, consistent kindness, shared laughter, honest disagreements, and the quiet decision to keep showing up for one another. And here's the part I hope you never forget. If a woman truly begins to trust you with her heart, don't treat that trust like something you've won. Treat it like something you've been entrusted to protect. Not through perfect words, not through expensive gifts, but through patience, honesty, respect, and emotional consistency. Because feelings can grow quickly, but trust grows slowly. And once it's cared for, it becomes the foundation on which lasting relationships are built. If you're fortunate enough to recognize these quiet behaviors in someone you care about, don't rush to label them. Instead, appreciate them. Let the connection develop naturally, one sincere moment at a time. Sometimes the strongest relationships aren't the ones that begin with overwhelming passion. They're the ones where two people gradually realize they no longer feel the need to hide who they really are. And perhaps that's the most beautiful realization of all. When she feels emotionally safe with you, she isn't just choosing to spend time with you. She's choosing to let you see the version of herself that very few people ever do. If you've made it this far, I'd love to know your thoughts. Have you ever experienced one of these quiet signs, or recognized it only after looking back? Share your experience in the comments. Someone reading it may realize they're not alone. And if this conversation gave you a new perspective, I'll be here for the next one. Until then, take care of the hearts that choose to trust you.